Hey guys, welcome to Only Founders. Today we have our very first guest. I am so excited that my friend Danika Brysha is joining Matt and I today for your show. Danika and I have been friends for years and years and years, right? We're talking want to say, is it 2 decades? Would that be safe? Maybe 15 years, Danika? Is that
15. 15.
15,
Yeah.
15 years. So we go way back to some introductions of friends from CU Boulder, which is where she went, and I'm in Denver, Colorado. So that's how we got here. But Danika Brysha is America's leading self-care expert. She is a wellness entrepreneur, one of the best that I know. She's a former IMG Curve model and host of Your Morning Mindset Practice. She's founded companies like Self-Care Society, Model Meals, and the Private Garden Chefs Collective. She's toured the country with TJ Maxx and also her brunch series, which maybe she'll share with you a little bit on today's show. She even saw her Model Meals company acquired in 2021. She also manages her partner Chef Bill Haley's business as well with him. And together, through her own journey of recovery from body image struggles to addiction, burnout, which many of us founders have, Danika has guided thousands and thousands of people to create self-care systems that stick. She's been featured on the Food Network, People, Shape, and more. She's also modeled for several reputable brands that you guys would know. And today she's here on Only Founders to help us bring us back to ourselves in this busy and crazy world that we live in. Danika, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me, Matt and Ann. It's so fun to be here. I'm so excited. I'm loving the podcast so far. And yeah, I'm good. I'm doing great. Just doing the whole juggling of motherhood to young toddlers and business and all the things.
Yeah, I feel you. Today's Friday, and I dropped the kids off at school today. And not going to lie, I literally had a car dance party because all the seats were empty behind me. So juggling the motherhood with the business on Fridays, I'm like, woo, bye, see you later. And we get a little bit of a break. So that always feels good.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did so much with food.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So like I'm a cook, so I cook like as much as I can at home, and you're around food so much. So you have like your own gardening initiative. Like why did you go into that? I'm just curious. Like, you know, I know it might be off topic, but like I'm a big foodie person.
Matt, we don't have a topic. This is the topic. This is where we're going. This is great.
No, it's not off topic at all. Food has been the sort of through line of my whole life. And kind of in the beginning of my story, I struggled growing up. I mean, I grew up like many of us on processed food and all that. And I struggled with my body and weight a lot. And it led me into, I had severe bulimia. I had drug addiction. I got into cocaine and Adderall and like all the things for a long time. I spent a lot of my life at Weight Watchers meetings when I was 13. And so food was like a big part of everything I did. And then I got into the plus size modeling industry, which again seems like an interesting trend, like tie into food, but it's relevant, right? Because my weight was my body was then, I had to stay big enough, right? Like this is crazy. I love that we're talking about this, but this is crazy. I was thinking the other day, I used to have to bring a bag of padding to my plus size modeling job.
Oh, I remember it was your fat suit, right?
Yeah,
I hate that term, but yeah.
Padding. Put it inside your clothes to make you look bigger on camera. So anyway, my point being is I kind of just always was into food because for so much of my life, I had a really unhealthy relationship with it. And so when I sort of in 2014 is when I kind of like took the leap into having a healthier relationship with food and body and realized how powerful it was. So like, yeah, I've just always been doing that. I worked at In-N-Out Burger as my first job. And then I was a caterer. Like I've just always sort of naturally, and my partner's a chef. Like that was he's a professional chef of 25 years. So it's my jam. Yeah.
Wait, so you have a private chef at home now. So wait, hold on. Now that you have a private chef, so I love In-N-Out. And keep in mind, like I try to eat as healthy as I can, but I like at least once a week I'm eating at In-N-Out. So now that you have a private chef, do you still crave like the outside food, or is it just like now everything is cooked at home? Or
well, it's like and whenever they say, what is it, the cobbler's shoes or something, like I try not to have him making fancy meal, like when he goes to work, he has to cook all the time. So as much as, and I love to cook and I love to just get stuff out of our garden and all that. He brings home a lot of leftovers. He was working for Dana White of the USC the last 3 years as a private chef, one of his private chefs. And so he would bring home like so many kind of leftovers, right? And just things. So a lot of times we sort of
They have to be so good. Those leftovers must be amazing.
Once I no longer had, so I've owned a meal delivery company for about 10 years. So once I used to have those meals in my fridge, I just found as someone who struggled with food, that making food easy and having healthy, nourishing food accessible to me really helped me with my mental health as well. And I think that was part of why I started my meal delivery company, Model Meals. And so nowadays too, like we would have a lot of prepped food from when Bill was working at Dana. And nowadays it's just kind of, I like to cook and prep and all that. So we don't eat out a lot. If we eat out, basically it's like sushi. We have a sushi place and a pizza place. So people come to town, they're like, where should we go to eat out? I was like, don't know. Have no suggestion. Takeout pizza.
What's your go-to meal? So like, for example, like after like table tennis, if I plan to cook, it's not going to be something extravagant because I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I have like a go-to meal, which is really just a skirt steak and asparagus. That's like the most simple, and rice. It's like
amazing.
Super simple.
Yeah.
What's your go-to meal?
Well,
That's
I have
quick
two.
and reliable.
Well, I have two. One is like my breakfast bowl. I've been doing this forever, and it's like onion, sweet potato, sauteed with bacon, and then fried eggs. Like so good.
Yum.
So good. That's
with the fried egg. Is it runny? I'm curious.
Yeah.
It has to be runny.
Yeah, we grow sweet potatoes in our yard and onion and all these things. So we don't have chickens yet, but hopefully. But my secondary answer to that is chicken tenders. Like we make these paleo chicken tenders for my kids because I have a 3-year-old who will hardly eat anything, and so we eat those a lot because she eats those. And I'm like, as long as it's like all she eats is fruit. So I'm like, if you'll eat a chicken tender that's like made with almond flour and all that, awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. Okay, so if you were to have more of a splurge meal and take yourself out to one of the sushi or the pizza places, what is your go-to out meal that you crave?
Sushi, for sure.
What's your favorite kind?
We just eat a little bit of everything because I mostly don't eat any gluten or grains. I also don't eat sugar. I avoid a lot of stuff. So like pizza is like a really kind of rare occasion because I just don't feel good. It's not worth it for me. Like the exchange. Sometimes
it's the same for me too. Like you get nothing back out of it by eating it.
It's just that, and sushi for me is like a lot. I still kind of feel like crap after. I did this really comprehensive genetic testing, and I have these gene variants that make it so that I don't process grains well whatsoever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, anywho, sushi for sure. We get all kinds of stuff, and we're like in and out in 20 minutes kind of thing. We're not like the kind of, because we've been sober for my partner and I are both sober. And we're not like kind of like wine and dine, sit down, enjoy a meal. I mean, we have 2 little kids, so especially if they're with us, but even if they're not, we're kind of like, I'm here to eat and go. So anyway, it's just not part of our life. It's interesting. I know it is a lot of people, like, it's just not like something that is part of our sort of like hobbies, especially because my partner can make most things that you're going to have when you're out.
Anyway, well, so if like wining and dining in a nice meal out for an extended period of time is not a date or a fun pastime, what is a favorite way that you and Bill, is it Bill or Billy? What does he like to be called?
Well, ever since we named my daughter Billy, it's now Bill, but it used to be
Bill. Yeah, it used to be Billy. So you and Bill, hi, Bill, by the way. And so like, what do you guys really enjoy doing if you were to go on a date? How do you spend your time if it's not around food?
Yeah, I'm smiling because last time we like went out to dinner, I rolled up with a 7-page family planning document that had like all this these like question topics about like, how do we want to raise our family? What is education like what are non-negotiables? So I love personal development and growth and all that. But we love to hike. Like that's really fun. We live actually, people are like, you live in Vegas, you're sober. But we're living this like organic, health conscious life in Las Vegas, like 10 minutes from the Strip. It's so interesting, but we're surrounded by national parks and right here in Vegas, Red Rocks has tons of beautiful hikes. And So we love living in Vegas. We live near the Red Rocks. We like to hike. So we'll go hiking together. We like to do projects in our yard. Like we're really trying to build our little homestead here on our half acre. So we do a lot of that. And we really honestly just love we take little trips. We have an RV, so we'll take trips and stuff with our family. We do a lot with our kids. You know, we could be a lot better about date night, to be honest, but that's how it is.
My wife would say the same thing. We try to do as many date nights as we can, but it's like everything has to be like we don't have enough time. So it's like we have to schedule it. That's basically what we have to learn. If we don't schedule it, nothing will happen. So we have to we got to put it and be like, hey, we're going to have dinner tomorrow. And then sometimes one of us be like, we don't feel good. So we always say, if we don't have dinner tomorrow, then it has to be this day. So we got
backup day.
Yeah, it has to be. Because there's just some days maybe she doesn't feel well or I'm really tired. Something's going on. Maybe it's a stressful day. And it's we just need to just recover on our own for a second. And then the next day we feel even better. So
yeah,
I love that. Matt, what is your and your wife's favorite date night food out if you go to dinner?
It's very similar to Danika. So we'll do Japanese. So not necessarily sushi. And again, we don't drink and I wouldn't say 20 minutes, but we're not slow eaters either. It's not super fast. Because we'll order so Japanese is small dishes for the most part. We don't order one entree. So it'll be I don't know, maybe 7 small dishes. So that's 30 minutes. But we eat those dishes really fast. Honestly, if they all came out at the same time, it'd be a 20-minute dinner. It comes out slower. Because that's why we choose it. So we can spend more time with each other. It's you can unwind and because we're waiting, we can just talk whatever, anything we want. So, and then we always comment. So I don't know what's with this Japanese place next to us, but it's other couples also going there. And she loves just eavesdropping on everyone's conversation. So she will just comment. And it's oh, did you hear what's happening over there? It's no, I don't know.
So my husband and I often play a game when we're on a date and we will look at other people and we will have to figure out who they look like. So it's a doppelganger game of if it's someone famous or if it's someone we know, so we'll go out and we kind of observe. So instead of the eavesdropping thing, we're more of visually looking at the people around us to then make some kind of a joke. So Trent, Matt, I don't know if you know this, he's been a stand-up comedian for almost 18 years. And it's fun with him. So there's always too many jokes. And I'm you're not funny, stop. But there are occasional gems and I'm wow, that's fucking hilarious. Keep going. And so we will be out and he'll say something. He'll say, oh, that person is so-and-so, but they had plastic surgery and they had this or something. He'll go through and it's just kind of our own little game of how we've always connected. It's really weird. It's almost when we first started dating, it was we were still able to window shop and check out other people, but not just checking them out. You're also just observing people in your surroundings. You're oh, that dude looks like Mel Gibson, but only 20 years ago or something like that. Right. So it's this, but something is different. So that's our little date night game too.
So Danika, I'm curious. So you do a lot of personal development. I don't know how to really explain it. It's not personal development, but how I see it is I invest a lot in me and my relationship. And I also run a business, right? So somehow I know you're in a transitionary role, but to get to where you are today, there had to have been some transition to it. So I'm curious, when you were running all the ventures at 100% capacity, plus you're in this transitionary role of motherhood and you've had a lot of personal transformations. How did you manage that? Because I'm curious. I always run out. I was just talking about time. I run out of time all the time, every day.
Yeah. And I still feel overextended all the time. I always my lists, my Asana tasks are nuts, but I think that's the nature of creative founders and people who are driven and people who have jobs that don't have ceilings, right? Because there's no, when you're an entrepreneur or a founder, there's no limit to what you could always be doing more. So I think that's the biggest struggle for so many of us is I really have to remember and remind myself all the time that there is not a day that's going to come that I have more time, when things slow down. It's a myth. Right? It's not going to happen. I have to make time for these other things right now. And I think with 2 little kids, I've finally been like, I know for a fact I'm not getting this time back. I know that I'm always going to be busy and I'm always going to be working on something and building something. So I have to really like focus on that. But back to your question is like, where did this come from? That's, I kind of fell into this self-care space, and like most people, if you ask, would I think how I show up publicly most is really being this kind of like self-care expert. And I developed this self-care checklist concept and went on tour, as you said in my intro, and we did 66 events all over the country for women and teaching them about self-care. And that was because when I changed how I ate in 2014 and I got sober for the first time, it totally transformed my life. It was like 1 month of my life where I changed a couple of lifestyle habits. I was like a new person. And a lot of this stemmed from the fact actually that the year prior to this, I had been taking Adderall for like a year off and on. And I realized that my creativity, it was like someone just like dulled my fire. You know what I mean? Yeah, I could sit and detail my bedroom and get a ton done, but there was this sort of like flat line, and I got a little bit of a I sort of came back to like natural living a lot more, and realized when I did the Whole30 in 2014 and got sober, it totally just transformed my life. And that sort of trickled into meditation and journaling and therapies and mindset work. And then that sort of led into like sort of looking at a habit change and personal development. And then through that lens and building this sort of like self-care checklist that helped guide me. Essentially, when I actually started it, I was trying to figure out a way not to binge eat because I was using food as my drug to sort of take the edge off. At this point, I had, just for a little context, I had been living in New York City. I was a plus size model. That's the main reason I went there. And I lost a bunch of weight as I got into the sort of personal development wellness space, changed how I ate, got sober. And I was like in this middle ground, like a women's size, like 8 or 10, where at the time there were no modeling jobs. So I went from making 6 figures modeling to nothing overnight. I'm living in the West Village of New York in my own apartment. And so pretty quickly I ran out of money, moved home with my parents for a couple of years. And so kind of the stress of like moving back in with your parents when you're almost 30 and like not like sort of feeling like you failed your dreams. That was the stress of that was leading me to use food as a drug and as my coping mechanism. And that was always my coping mechanism. But I was binge eating there was the time I binge ate 20,000 calories in a sitting. So this is like drug level. Like it's not like I'm overeating here and there. This is like drug level, like, really the same way. My partner was an opiate addict and same kind of thing. We bonded a lot over sort of like, a lot of people be like, food is not a drug. If you saw the way I behaved in some circumstances and what I would do, the shady behavior and the like, it's 100%. You can use it that way. So anyway, backtracking, I created this thing called the self-care checklist, and I found that it really helped me to get to the end of the day and not binge. And it had just like little self-care things on it. And when I realized how powerful this, like a little bit of accountability was, I started adding things to it and adding to it, these sort of visualizations of my life, writing future biographies of myself 5 years down the road and gratitude and affirmations and all that. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful. I watched my life transform. Like in a very short period of time, I moved out of the garage, all these things. And I watched my life transform and went on, my company, we grew it and we were acquired by a public company. And I mean, it was fast, right? So that, I guess to answer your question, like I did the Whole30 essentially. I had a bad experience with Adderall. I had been binge drinking and using drugs and all the things, whatever, in my 20s. But I did the Whole30 and I got
all of us has done something in their 20s.
Right.
So.
Oh, for sure.
Experimental. Everything's experimental in the 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, long-winded answer. But yeah, that's kind of what led me to realizing that we really are like the fuel with which we can grow our businesses and show up in the world is like our body runs on food, right? Like that is how we are here talking and alive like that. So it makes sense that the quality of the food you put into your body, your fuel, like you would a car, powers you in whatever way. And if I want to have this big, beautiful life that I dream of and I'll do all these things, like I need my brain to function at the highest possible level. And to me, there's all these different sort of wellness, self-care things that power that engine that allows me to build my company and all that.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Like, when you were going through your transformation stage, because I'm curious, like it felt like it was more of a compounding factor. It wasn't like, because I always feel like sometimes there's 2 steps back and then you get stuck there, but it actually feels like the process you went through, you may have, you may have had 2 steps back and then 1 step forward, but it feels like the lot of foundation, you built a lot of foundation the whole way. Versus I think like someone like me, like a lot of times I'll build a foundation and then like I realize I did the wrong thing and I got to rebuild the whole thing. And it's like really discouraging, but it sounds like you actually had a really solid foundation all the way up.
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, it's hard for me to look back and not say, oh my God, look at all these places I failed and should have done something differently or whatever. So I think, yes, quite literally, when I changed how I ate, I started this thing called doing monthly challenges inspired by my experience with the Whole30. And so I was like, each month I'm going to add on I'm going to try on a new habit. Right. And I'm going to journal every day for the month of February. I'm going to meditate every day for the month of March. I'm going to work out every day and for me, it was that black and white thinking of like, I don't know, without not having gray area, actually to me is more empowering. It's easier. And so I would do that. And I just realized, so from that perspective, that's like black and white compounding. Like, you know what I mean? It's like add one, keep the one that worked, add one, keep the last one too. And I got as far as like, I tried like all the sort of traditional things. I did a challenge one month that I had to smile for, I set a timer on my phone. I think it was for 5 or 10 minutes and just smile like this, like, I couldn't be at my desk, but it was like a self-experiment to see how it changed my persona and how I wrote emails and how I went after things. And it did. It was really pretty interesting. I was doing all these self-experiments and they did. And a lot of them stuck. And I think once you know how good you can feel, it's very hard personally for me to go back to feeling like crap.
Absolutely. That hits 100% for me too. Yeah. Once you feel the charge and the energy of feeling incredible and waking up every day and people go, how are you? And I say, I'm fucking fantastic. Yeah. I'm living the shit out of my life. I literally tell people that now, I'm living the shit out of my life. And they're like, whoa, like, what does that mean? And when you feel so good and you have practices and you have habits and you have food that makes you feel good and you're getting hydration, it's amazing to me when you see how little water people actually drink on the daily basis. They're just dehydrated. That's it. It's not really a science. Matt's drinking water right now. And I resonate with that 100%. As a founder of anything, if you're going to use your brain to found an idea, a community, a passion project, a business, you do resonate at a higher level energetically when you feel fantastic. And like for you to find those things. And I love that too. I think it was Tabitha Brown's book, I Did a New Thing. Have you guys heard of that one? Mm-hmm. I read that recently. I think that's the one. I might have misquoted, but it's I Did a New Thing. And it's similar to that. It's for 30 days, even 2 weeks. It's not even that long. Try a new thing. Just try something new. And it could be small. It could be brushing your teeth with your left hand instead of your right. I don't really care what it is. But when you try something new and you have that curious mindset of like, what would this feel like, right? Or what if I did something different for a workout, right? Like what if instead of my gym routine of 3 times a week, I went and did an Orange Theory class, which I did. I went and visited my stepbrother a couple years ago for Thanksgiving. I was like, shoot, yeah, sign me up. I'll do Orange Theory. I'll try anything once. I'm great. Like it doesn't matter what it is, but to be open to trying new things, new foods. I take the kids to the store sometimes, pick out the weirdest looking fruit. Like, what are you curious about? And they'll just walk around, they picked star fruit. Why is there a yellow and a pink star fruit, Mom? I'm like, I don't know, but luckily we have Google. So let's look that shit up, right? Like, let's just do it. And I think the more curiosity that you have in your life, even to just show your kids that you're doing something new and you're afraid. I am excited today that I'm going to go offshoot here, but I'm getting another tattoo today. I have 2 already. I'm getting one on my arm that I am so excited about. She's been designing it for me. I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's go time. It's so meaningful to me. Anyway, I told the kids when I dropped them off, I said, guys, when I pick you up from school, I'm going to have a new tattoo. And they're like, oh, Mom, does that hurt? I'm like, it hurts so bad. They're like, okay. So my oldest daughter, who's 10, said, Mom, how do you cope when you're sitting there in all of the pain? What do you do? She goes, because I might want a tattoo when I'm older too, but I don't know. And I just said, I close my eyes and I breathe and I know I wanted this. So I invited it in, right? And it's painful only if you let it wreck you, right? But like if you think of something else, I try to meditate, I try to go somewhere else. It was almost like labor, right? Like Danika, you had your kids naturally too. So like you get there and you have kids naturally and you're like, fuck, what am I doing? There's a point where you're like, turn back, go to the hospital. We want drugs. But you sit in it, and it's kind of actually a beautiful new thing that I started doing with tattoos. It's like, it's the awareness that pain exists and that there are really uncomfortable things that you can go through. And the more you can kind of settle and just focus on what this means to you in the end. And I love the tattoo on my back so much. And it's the same artist who designed this arm piece. And I'm like, I'm just going to love looking down on it and knowing the story I told her to get her to create this artwork for me and like where I am in my life. So yeah, it was an interesting question, but that's just one new thing I've been doing that I love.
Yeah.
But I think when you do something new, you realize I can be out of my comfort zone. This feels different, but it allows you to sit in really uncomfortable situations again. And it also helps your work ethic for me. Mm-hmm. It really helps my work ethic if I am sitting in something or a task or a project that I'm not really a fan of, or it's the energy has shifted, or I really just have to get through it. It builds stamina. Mm-hmm. It allows us to sit through something that we don't really know what to do with, but we know that we can figure it out because we've done new things before, right? It's like a muscle you have to stretch.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Danika, I'm curious. So we're all talking about like uncomfortable situations, and I have a lot of mechanisms, but I'm curious, like, how do you deal with being uncomfortable? And there's a lot of different ways because I do it differently. I want to hear your thought first, but it doesn't have to be always like in the moment. Sometimes it might be preparation or something in postmortem. So how do you handle like those uncomfortable, maybe painful situations in business, like whatever?
I'm generally like a very hopeful person. I remember in when I was living in LA after college, I lived with my friend, and she said to me, she was like, how are you still like friends with that person or connected, like that they did that thing to you or whatever. They said that, or they were this way or whatever. And I quite literally like maybe it's just dissociation, right? But quite literally it doesn't bother me. Like, I don't know. I'm very hard to piss off. I'm very hard to I'm irritated quite often at this stage of life because I have two little kids who are touching me all the time. I'm still nursing. My daughter's almost 2. Like, I'm just, we co-sleep. We're like, I don't get a lot of me time. Other than when I'm working, and then I'm in like a different brain. So from that angle, yes, I get stressed and overwhelmed and uncomfortable in some capacity. But I would say in the rest of life, I think because what I realized was when I was binge eating and bulimic and all these things was that I was dealing with this outer world that felt unmanageable. And I have learned to control, and maybe that's not the right word, but whatever I can do to manage my environment so that I'm not in crazy stressful situations anymore, I do. And that has to do, and simultaneously, and I always use the like 3 little pigs example, I build my house with bricks, and I do that through self-care, meaning like I sleep is like a non-negotiable. Don't get me wrong. I was probably up, I think 30 times last night. My little one's sick and she's nursing, and I didn't sleep. So, and I'm up most nights at least 4 times a night with my little ones. So like I haven't slept in years.
Amen, sister.
but I do my best, right? Like I get it. I still do okay. So what I was saying is that I use this example of 3 little pigs, where it's like, what are you building your house with? What are you building your foundation with, so that whatever comes along in life, you can handle, and you can, you're going to sway a little bit, but you're not going to be knocked down. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I've created, and in the recovery rooms and AA and all that, it's like, there's a saying that's kind of like, you realize that life had become unmanageable. And that is how I feel when I'm not being really conscious of my self-care and my environment. And, it's why I don't drink. It's why, so I just want, I guess it's not that I deal with stressors that beautifully. It's that I'm very intentional about limiting the stressors that I allow into my life. Now, in this season of life, like I look back at when I was running Model Meals and Self-Care Society, all these things at full capacity, like you were asking, and had so many meetings on the calendar and all that. And it was just like, my nervous system was like, no. So for me at this point in life, I would rather make just enough money and not like be building $100 million company when I get to play in my garden all day and barely sit at my computer. And like, I'm cool with that right now.
How I like to describe that is like kind of inner peace. Cause I feel like there's before inner peace and after. Cause I don't know when I went through this, it had to have been either late 20s or right when I hit 30. But before, it was exactly what you described. It was like a lot of things that you don't want in your life, but you just deal with it anyway.
Yeah.
And then after you kind of have this foundation that you kind of said, it's like, and I call it after you have inner peace, everything changes. You could just say no to like 90% of the things. And you realize like the consequences that you originally thought didn't exist. They were just all in your head.
Yeah.
And I feel like after that, like everything changed. But it sounds like that's where your big moment, or not big moment, but that's where I feel like once you have inner peace, you have that control that you're saying. You have the time. You may not have time in a way where like we all still wish we had more time, but you can now manage it very clearly because it's your own, not like you mentioned, non-negotiables. It's very easy to say no to things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. The inner peace thing is huge. I think being on the road as a founder and that journey of a founder, of founding anything, right? To found something, you have to be so brave that you have this idea and something is either working really well for you and you want to share it with the world, or you are really good at something and you want to bring it to life to try and monetize it or to help other people's life, right? And when you're founding something, I think that's really important to note that a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space, I think, have found inner peace in that journey because we've said no to the corporate structure of work. We've said no to the restraints of kind of putting people in these boxes, right? Of like what you can and can't do with a job description. And for me, I feel like a lot of founders who have founded something, when they feel they have control of their schedule and their time, it's because they've had something happen with that inner peace, that shift of knowing that something isn't working with how we're told we should be working or how we should be living or having a family or whatever that looks like. Like, I just feel like the founder mindset, you're naturally curious. You want to go like explore something further because it's eating up your thoughts, right? So you're like, I got to do something about this.
Oh, hold on, Anna. I got to challenge you.
I know. I knew you were going to because I saw you thinking. I'm ready for it, Matt. Let's do it.
I disagree that becoming an entrepreneur or founder means that you're either on a path or have inner peace. Actually, I think if you start your own venture, you are inherently going back to zero. Inherently, because you lose your structure, you lose your stability, and that comes with a whole bunch of baggage. So once you go back to zero, you have to figure a way to rebuild, at least get to parity to where you were before when you had.
What is zero though? Can you explain zero to me in your mind of like going back to zero?
Yeah. Zero is right before you got your first job.
Okay.
Like you're not even an adult. You don't even know how to make money. You don't know how to do anything. Because a lot of folks, say you go to the traditional route, go to school, get a job. The structure has already been laid for you. You don't even have to think. You just follow the whole process all the way up to VP, and that'll be your limit, right? Up until you're 65.
Pension plan, have your 401k, and peace out.
I don't know in this economy anyone's getting a pension.
There's none of that. Okay.
But that structure is solid, and it's not. I mean, just as long as you're a good communicator, you're either a good communicator or you're good at your job. Just follow the path, and you're good. If you say I'm gonna found something, that means you need time. In order to get time, you got to quit something. Something needs to be sacrificed. That's where you go back to zero. Once you're at zero, then you need to figure out how to rebuild a path where you can be stable until you're, and that is actually why it's the reverse, because once you're in this area, everyone's depressed unless you get lucky.
Okay.
Well, you get lucky, you get depressed later. It's actually better to be depressed first.
You defer the depression. Okay.
Yeah.
There's depression.
If you hit fame early, you're going to get depressed you're going to be miserable way later. And that's a tough spot to be in. But if you're so we're getting miserable early. And that means everything's a proving ground. And while a lot of people fail at that point, and sometimes failure is not immediate. Failure could be a decade, meaning you're just getting by. You're really not making any more money than you were before, or you're really not being any more happier than you were before. You're just getting by. That doesn't mean you have inner peace. Actually, it means your inner peace prior was probably better, and you just eroded all confidence on like, how do you get out of this?
Okay. I understand that. I do see your side, and I do agree. But I think, how do I want to say this? When you quit something, you have to stop something to found something else and put your time and energy there. Perhaps you're speeding up the journey to failure or to depression or to burnout so that you can then get that inner peace journey for later in life. So I feel like when you go against the system that is college, the job, the hierarchical org chart structure, but you're treading in your own water. Like you said, you're like fucking up all your systems, which is why Danika's Self-Care Society is so important, because even as a founder, and to have that framework that you lost, that you quit, you gave up on, right? You left it. And now you're saying, I don't have any structure. And we've already talked about this, but Danika, you hit it earlier in the episode. You don't have a ceiling. You don't have a floor, and you don't have a ceiling. As a founder, you are so uncontained. You could go high, 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 and there's no cap, right? And you could go low, and then literally the lowest is like, unfortunately, suicide. Like that's where we go, right? The lowest is just absolute destruction. So
there is lower than suicide, actually.
What is that, Matt?
I don't know if we should describe it here.
Okay.
there is definitely lower. I'm going to let you know. There is lower than your own self-harm.
Oh, true. Okay, I got you. All right. So, but we're talking, yes, you get rid of all of the structure and the framework and the rules, and you're just freely out there. And you can spend all those years, you can spend decades founding something and just employing yourself. And it's literally more stress than when you were hired and an employee. But I do think this will lead into, as we're talking about kind of this space of finding inner peace, where we're going to find that. Even on our last episode that just came out recently, these are not in order, so these are a few episodes ago now, we talked about my personal journey with hitting that rock bottom and the depression, and then finding that inner peace and kind of rebirth out of that whole story. So I do want to focus on the Self-Care Society a lot, because I think all of the work you're doing there, Danika, is so important. And that actually ties into what Matt's saying. You're losing all the structure. You've gotten rid of all of the routine that was laid out for you. You're going back to zero. And let's say you're in that zero. That's probably the perfect place to pick up on what goes on in the Self-Care Society. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the Self-Care Society and what you founded there and what that offers people if you are a member in it?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. I think this is, it's so true. As an entrepreneur, or a founder, you lose a lot of structure. I never really thought of it that way. And so it's sort of on us to create more, and we love that, right? That's what we do it for in a lot of ways. It's I'm fairly certain I'm unemployable at this point.
Me too.
100%. Agreed. 100%. I always say I will never be owned again.
Unless I'm working from home, whatever. It's interesting. And I almost can't even do service focused businesses, because I still feel kind of like an employee, even if I'm not an employee. So it's a little hard. I'm I'm sort of oh man, I'm really rethinking. And this kind of I'm going to answer your question in a second, but this brings me back, because I was thinking this morning about if I ever have dirt under my fingernails, it's because I spend a lot of time in my garden. So just know that means I'm very happy and I'm having a spacious, beautiful life, but my nails are usually dirty. I look back and I was like, what I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was an immigrant, worked really hard, ended up being an executive of a big company. And my mom stayed home, but she had worked before, and then she worked when we were kind of in our teens. And I was like, where did this entrepreneur thing come from? And I don't know exactly where I started hearing about, but I remember reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And that felt like at the time, I mean, this is like 10 years ago, right? At the time, it was kind of like whoa, there's another option. Like there's another way to do this life thing and this work thing. Wow. And there's been a lot of evolution since that book, right? But I think at the time that was really big, that 4-Hour Work Week book. And I was like, oh, there's another way. And I'm a Gemini. Like I have probably like 20 personalities and not just 2. I need to do a lot of things. And we sort of talked about this in our prep call a little bit, but this idea of like being multidimensional. And as me as a founder, the creative, like I'm also, if you study human design, which you probably don't, but it's an interesting kind of, I'm a little on the woo-woo side, whatever, but I'm a manifestor.
Same.
You're a manifestor?
I am a generator.
Okay. So so I'm a manifestor, which is a pretty small percentage of the population. And it's literally like founder vibes 1,000% in the sense of like, you are someone you have to be creating. You have to have this newness. You tend to move forward without informing people, and it can piss people off because you're already on to the next thing you're doing. And so I've actually struggled with that in business a lot because I kind of have this like 5-year window of working on an idea. And then by that point, I'm ready to like go. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't do it another way and build a company for 10, 15 years, but I need to be a lot more diligent about staying strictly in the creative and making the company successful enough so I can hire someone to really work as a CEO and operations and all the things that I typically juggle in my small businesses. Anywho, the structure conversation is just really interesting because I guess I really never thought of it as like when I became an entrepreneur, we let go of the structure, right? It's now on us to create structure and systems, and we have this freedom, which is the ultimate goal and can be. And
the ultimate punishment, I dare say. It's the ultimate freedom and reward and the ultimate punishment because now all of it is controlled by us.
Right. So Self-Care Society, I'll just kind of mention real quick what that is. Self-Care Society, when I returned from our tour, we had worked with like thousands of women. The tour was really focused on helping people dream again, be hopeful, connect on a more vulnerable level, develop self-care routines that help them live the life they want. And what I realized was that I could have these amazing events and people come and they're hyped up maybe for, however length of time, like we all know we do, we go to a conference or a retreat or a course or whatever. But I was like, how do I actually give them a tool that they can do on a daily basis that's accessible and easy so they can continue this work in their day-to-day life? Like one of my things that I always say and tend to get quoted on in podcasts every time I say it. So don't clip this because we need something else. No, it's like a great life is just a series of great days, right? And so for me, and it's just one day at a time. And so for me, it was like, how do I create a great day? I'm going to stop focusing on creating a great life. And I'm going to say, what is my formula for a great day? And that's where this kind of like self-care checklist and these rituals come in. So anyway, Self-Care Society was like, I used Peloton, I used their sort of app, and I'm doing this. I'm like, we need a mental, emotional, spiritual fitness class every day like we do our physical. Right. And so it was meant to be that.
Love that.
That's what it is. Essentially, it's a place where you can go. All our classes are about 30 minutes long. So it's nothing crazy. You bring a journal and it's guided. So you do usually about 5 exercises. The teacher is kind of guiding you. They give you an example, and it's live. Our classes were live, and now we have an on-demand option. And so you're engaging with people in the chat. People are sharing their dreams and their hopes, and and so it's essentially a journaling class like a fitness class, but it's mental, emotional workout. And it helps you go into your day, focus on who you're becoming. Where am I going? What do I want in life? It helps people cultivate self-love and self-confidence. Like I fell into the self-love space, interestingly enough, as a plus size model, because it was really interesting. Like I, as someone who struggled with loving themselves for their whole life, I mean, like I was like a disaster. It was so interesting because when I got into the plus size modeling industry, my Instagram feed started becoming all these curvy women like showing off their bodies and like confident and in lingerie. And like I'd never seen that before. And at the time you weren't really seeing that in the media either. This was like, I was like one of the early plus size models. There was like maybe 20 of us and we mostly knew each other and we mostly did all the jobs. It's changed so much since, but And I fell into this space because what I was seeing on my feed became my normal. So then I assumed, no, this is what everyone sees. Everyone. So I started posting
It's like you're in a bubble.
bikini and whatever. And people were like loving it. And because they weren't I was only seeing that because I was in this niche, but these people, this is the first time they're seeing this woman who's 200 pounds, 5'10", size 14, confidently like living this bold life. And so I fell into the self-love. So that's like really woven into Self-Care Society. So anyway, long story short is we offer a monthly membership that allows you access to our on-demand library of, there's 30 classes each month. It rotates, and they're on all sorts of topics, but really meant to be done each day, like you would a fitness class. And then I also at the end of every month teach a monthly planning workshop, which is like so fun. It's $25, and it's we take like 30 minutes to reflect on the month that's closing. It's like, what happened? What am I grateful for? What were my learning lessons? And then we do like a plan for the next month ahead. So how do I want to feel? What does that look like in micro habits throughout my day? What is a visualization of this month as I look back on it? What, like, do I want to do any monthly challenges? So we do those at the end of every month. And then I have an annual program called New Year I've been doing for 8 years. And that is really comprehensive. And it's not just a New Year's program. Most people do it then, but it's for any time you want a fresh start and a new like annual plan and a fresh outlook. So it's like, I feel like there's so many things. Like I do feel like a founder, right? I've grown businesses and I'm on this business side, but at the core of it, which is kind of full circle to what we started this conversation about, is like is coming back to the fact that it starts here, right? It starts with our physical vessel and our mind. And like, so if I would encourage any founder, anything, it would be like, design your lifestyle vision before you design your business effort. Because for me, what I have to think about is like, I'll probably homeschool my kids in some capacity or some sort of combo. We want to be able to live in Europe a couple months or not just Europe, all over the world, so I'm thinking really strategically right now about, and I know I don't want to sit at a desk every day. I don't like to sit at a desk more than 2 or 3 hours a day, and definitely not every day. I know I want to be, so there's all these things I'm thinking about in terms of what matters to me for my life. And that is how I go back and say, does this business that I'm launching or that I'm doing as it is now support this vision for me? And if not, can I change it? Or is this just not the business? And this is really interesting because I'm having this conversation right now about my private chef agency that we're doing, but I'm like, I was ready to go big, launch this, and health conscious private chefs, private gardens all over the country. And I love it. But I'm like, at what capacity does this require me to manage a bunch of employees? Of course you can delegate, right? We all know the goal is that you hire people and they can handle all this stuff for you, but I'm smart enough to know now that doesn't happen right away.
Right.
It's easy to get wrong too.
What?
It's easy to get wrong too by hiring the wrong people.
Totally. And listen, I've had some fantastic employees. It's hard dealing with people, right? At Model Meals, I think at certain points we had 40, 50 people working for us, right? So anyway, my point being is like really thinking about what you want your life to look like. And I gift that, not just, that's what we do through Self-Care Society and these programs, is like not just for founders and entrepreneurs, but anyone to design their life, right? Just like to design what they want and to do that from like a really values driven place, like how you want to feel and all that. So that's kind of where I am right now as a founder launching, maybe we call it my 4th, 5th business at this point. It's very different than when I was naive and I just put something on Instagram and started cooking for people out of my apartment in New York. Like I'm in a different place and I'm so, at this point in my life, I know what works. I know what doesn't. I'm so intentional. And there's a lot of questions I ask before I'm going to put my energy into something.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. I love seeing your passion when you talk about this. This is clearly the front runner business that you should be expanding on. I had a question about Self-Care Society. Is it just you teaching everything, or do you also have other teachers and coaches within that?
So we've had a lot of evolutions of this business. And truth be told, it's been 5 years and I'm sort of at my 5-year mark where we're deciding kind of what is changing. It has been a hard business model, not a hard business model. It's just that I don't have the bandwidth. And I know my brother's my business partner. He has a 4-year-old. He works another job. And so, I'm in a spot where I know that my options I have a few options and we're sort of deciding what's next for the company. I don't feel I don't want to raise capital because to me, we need to raise capital to get it out there, I think, and to have some money to market. Like that's our big thing. We've literally, it's all organic marketing. We don't do paid ads, nothing like that. We've been fine. We've sustained to a certain extent, but honestly, like when I look back at Model Meals, I spent so many years not working for myself. And while we did get acquired by a public company and the deal wasn't horrible, it wasn't great. Did it justify the many years of like, I wouldn't change it for the world, but I told myself when I went into my next business that I'd be very mindful of not essentially working for free in some capacity for however, and so I'm really like just thinking through, and like, if I really want to grow something that self-care society, I know for sure I need to bring on people to grow it for me. Me as really like just staying in my creative founder seat. However, that requires capital. And I don't want to raise capital because it feels like I'm under someone's thumb and I don't want to work with them. And I know it's not always like that. And I know you can find good circumstances, but I just know myself right now that the freedom that I have in life to just work when I want and do things with my family and take off and postpone and do it. Like, it's just, that's the biggest priority to me right now. And so I'm figuring out. So to answer your question, we still have amazing thing. We have all these like courses stuff. All of the classes in the on-demand have all different guides. So all different teachers and all that sort of stuff. The live workshops and stuff are taught by me, but we do have a lot of different teachers and content, and all that. And they're all people who work usually as coaches in some capacity or, therapists or whatever.
So I'm curious about the raising capital because there's actually a lot of questions I want to ask, but the raising capital is like an interesting one. So I 100% agree with like my company Chippa. I purposely didn't raise. I raised money from my previous startup. It sucked. And that even just doing the pitches before you even get the money is like already soul crushing. Like I hate pitching for the most
Same.
part.
I hate pitching.
But you make a good argument that your business needs capital. So there's a lot of ways to get capital, but the easiest way is still raising. But I think then the question changes is who you raise from.
Sure.
So where's your headspace in there? Because if you have to raise, but you don't want to because you don't, how I like to say is I just don't want another boss or bosses. I already have customers as my boss. I don't want like other people that like don't even really care if they just want their money back, right? I don't or their ROI. So what's your process here? Because you have to grow, you need capital. So what do you think?
My process is, and the truth is, I said that we need to raise capital. Capital, like you said, we can also bring someone on with sweat equity. If there's someone out there that wants to come on, and we're deciding, I have a bunch of people who reached out wanting to be part of this and saying, I love what you're doing. I do have the bandwidth. If someone wants to come on and grow it, great. I just am super sensitive about what I hold energetically. And that's that in terms of like, even if I'm not working on something, I'm still holding it. I'm still energetically, it's part of my mental management, if that makes sense, even if I'm doing very little in the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this space of like, do I want to get creative within the business? Because I have all these really cool ideas that I think for the company that I think will be real, like just freaking kick ass. We are probably going to do some live events here because I love live events. I think they're so impactful. So we're either doing one this fall, but if we can't get that together, then we'll do one in spring. But I have plenty of ideas. It's just a matter of like being honest with myself about my bandwidth right now. And I think what it's probably going to look like is, and I'm someone nowadays who will take whatever time I need to digest before I make a decision. If I don't know,
I love that.
If I don't know, I don't make a decision yet. I will know when I know.
Yeah,
and so right now, we have this amazing offering. We have these workshops I shared about. We have this on-demand library that is so valuable. We have thousands of classes, whatever. So right now I'm just sort of marinating in what I want. The product has changed so many people's lives and like really needs to exist. And so I would say like I'm most looking towards probably passing it off to someone, staying in the ownership creator role, but letting them really like operate the business. Because I'm not I'm the bottleneck on this business right now. And even just from an impact standpoint, not even talking about money or whatever, it like needs to be out there. It's so powerful for people. And people need to know about it, but I don't have the capacity to do what I need to do in order to do that. So
And
I resonate deeply with that. Go ahead, Matt.
I think a lot of companies, when if you do decide that route, that's usually what it is. Like I've had a lot of situations in my past, in my 20s, I was just juggling too much, and it was like the same thing happened in my head. It's like I want things to continue, but I just don't have any more bandwidth. So I don't want it to kill it, right? So like it's just like breaking it down. I don't want to kill it, but I have no time.
Right.
So you no matter what, you have to pass the baton to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe this conversation is my therapy, and like, maybe I need to start working on doing that.
And so one last thing I want to ask you about this, we could talk to you for another 4 hours, I think, if not greater than that. Maybe we'll have like a follow-up show, but so let's say this, because I feel like Matt and I have talked heavily on this too, of being a visionary versus an integrator. And we have a whole episode on, me needing an integrator business partner to run and grow Fix and Form. And I'm kind of at that same crossroads as you, Danika, like literally the same place of I want my energy to go elsewhere, but what I deliver through that branding agency, we've helped so many people in deep, deep ways of like almost brand coaching, but it's like self-development in helping them create and name and discover their thing, which gives them freedom. So I don't want to kill it. It's the same place that we need to find these partners that are going to be sweat equity and shareholders that operate and grow and integrate our businesses that we founded, and we are the visionary. So how do we stay the visionary, but then find those people? So have you, in your years of founding businesses, selling businesses, and creating more, found a place or a habit or a mechanism that you do find these people other than just networking? Because everybody says networking, but like, is there something else? Is there another place that you do find great potential partners who are integrators in these founding, startup businesses that all of us have, that we're like, we need more?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I have mostly hired through my Instagram community. And it has been fantastic. Like I have and I have some ride or die people who work with me in small capacities now. Like no one's full time, but they're just my freaking rocks. Like I have the most amazing assistant. I have the most amazing support person who works with us at Self Care Society. Just like, I'm just so I'm close with anyone who's led my companies for the most part. I'm still quite close with. And the truth is, I think that us as entrepreneurs can, like, I wouldn't call it an ego thing. We're a lot of times you're the soul of the business, and it's really hard to understand how that can continue. Like when you scale, like you can't to scale yourself. Do you know what I mean? And I had my first experience of, I think the reason that Model Meals was as successful as it was, I was saying, we were doing for a couple of years there about $3 million a year, which was a lot of money at the time, and a lot of money for me, like for me, that was a big success, and that was because I literally got the business to a point where I couldn't run it myself. It was impossible. Like people will not get their stuff if I don't trust someone else to step in and do it. And so that kind of forced me out of grasping. And I'm so grateful for that, because I think that's why the company was as successful as it was, is because I quite literally could not hold it all and was forced to rely on other people. So I think there's a learning there. I think you sort of have to, I think it's very hard for us as founders to do that, but we have to stop and think like every moment I'm spending on tasks that are not my highest contribution is like, a waste of my time and keeping me from doing what I'm really good at. And B, I'm stealing something from someone who loves this. Like there are people who love to do spreadsheets. There are people.
Yes.
I'm actually one of them. I love spreadsheets, but there are people who love to do admin work. There are people. And so every time we try and do it all, and the ops and the CFO, and I get that we have to, right?
Yeah.
But every time we try and do it all, we are not just taking away our greatness and our capacity to contribute to our business on the great, to basically our roles as founders should be business growth. It should be like
Yes.
business should be running, and we should be there thinking about what's next to grow this business. And we're taking the opportunity from someone who's uniquely suited to do it.
I love that. It's a very giving mindset, which is wonderful. I always practice working in gratitude. I say we work in gratitude. We're thankful for our minds, the opportunity, the people we can connect with, the people we can help. Matt, you say this a lot. You get up every day thinking, how can you help your customers that day? Like, you're so excited about what Chip bought, and your businesses, when you are founding something, give to the world. That's a giving mindset. And I love that. And Danika, I love that giving mindset of we are giving opportunity to other people. I love that too. When I employ people, when I give people projects, when I have people work for me, I'm like, because my mind exists and my mind created this thing, I'm now giving all these other people this opportunity to work on this really cool thing. My team's like, I love the Fix and Form projects because your client base is so all over the place. Like, you just work on really cool things. You're not niched, and these are really exciting things for me that are different than my business and my day-to-day. Or, I just love the energy, or you're giving them more. It's not just work, but like you said, everybody has a working genius. And I love those people. Like, I say, God bless you to my friends who love spreadsheets, because I don't. So Danika, God bless you. And also, I am not a spreadsheet worker. And so when I have spreadsheet tasks, or when I have things that need that organization, I can do it. We all can do it. Danika, you said it. We all can do it. We have to wear all the hats. So we've worn all of the hats. But knowing now in this state of our career that we can found stuff, and then we also know how to assign and find the people that love it, that's really impressive. I love that you said the Instagram community. I also have an amazing Instagram community. I love social media. I know it can be very toxic. I've also, through COVID, found a way to make it really healthy for me, an amazing network. Like you said, you started finding your curvy people. I, too, was very skeptical about the media I consume. And I constantly, on the weekly, am filtering who I follow and what I like and what I don't. The second there's I don't know, if I'm not feeling it, it's an unfollow. I just don't have the people-pleasing mindset anymore. It's just what is serving me for consuming versus who's going to get all of the shit I'm putting out there, right? Sure. But I think that's so important when you find those people and they connect with you on social media in a healthy way. And having those relationships there, that's a great outlet to find people, and not just networking, because everybody says networking. I'm like, no.
They get your brand. They get what you're doing. I'm taking this whole year off consuming social media. We could probably have a whole episode about that. That's another.
I know. We didn't even touch on that.
But yeah, think about the labor the hours of explaining who you are and what you do, that you don't have to do because these people have been following you and they know your story. And granted, that's if you're showing up and being vulnerable and telling people what you're doing, right? But that was so easy for me because people showed up and they know what I'm all about. There's no intro to here's what we're doing. They already know.
There's no interview. They're like, hey, I know you. I love you. I'm here.
Yeah.
I love the no social media thing. I've been off social media for about 5 years.
Wow.
And I have the app because for work, but I'm not in it. It's just, for someone else.
Awesome.
That's a whole other show. That's the no social media. That's a whole other topic. Matt, you have any more questions for Danika? I know you have 1,000, but what's a final question that you wanted to ask her?
I don't really have a question. I actually, if anything, I just have admiration. I think everything you're doing just feels right. It just feels right. I don't know how to explain it. The path that you went through is it feels like your next chapters are really big. That's what I feel like. So it's not really a question. It's just I see a really good future. And I say that more of a truthful end because we talk about inner peace. You can't hit those next levels until you have that. It's a prerequisite. Yeah. And then the second thing is you have to have fire. You have to have something. And if you have those two, even if you fail 1,000 times, one of them is going to hit. And I just feel like I hear that from you.
So. Thank you. Thank you.
I love that. Danika, thank you so much for being with us today. This was wonderful. I love talking with you. I miss you. I wish I got to see you more. Anywho, I'm going to New York next week, so I'll be in your neck of the woods. Every time I go to New York, for some reason, I think of you. Your old neck of the woods.
Very Bradshaw moment.
Yes, when you were Miss Model and Target and Old Navy and all those brands. Every time I go to the store, by the way, do they still show your stuff up there? Because there were so many.
If you see me, let me know, because then they owe me some money. So they should.
I will. I remember wasn't it Lane Bryant? Were you doing that too?
I think I
was
did
it that?
briefly? I mean, I did like every brand that did.
You did so many Bare Essentials. I remember seeing all around. Yeah, there's so much. I'd be like out at an airport, or I'd be traveling and be like, Dee, I'd like take a picture. I'm like, hey, like you're here. It was fun. What?
It was an interesting season of life. It's it's tempting to go back to, but it's very unfulfilling for me. So it's
yeah.
My ego,
but you did it.
My ego needed it for a while, and now my ego is not.
You did it. You fulfilled a childhood dream in the other way that you didn't know you could. That was amazing. So I love it. Your story is profound. Will you please tell everybody where they can go find you online? This is your time to drop all your social handles and everywhere that you want people to connect with you. Go for it.
It's just my Instagram is at Danika Brysha. It's just my name. We have at Self Care Society as well. And then selfcaresociety.co is our website. If you want to go check out our on-demand membership or any of the workshops that I mentioned, or just shoot me a DM on I'm still checking my DM. So shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm happy to direct you to anything I can help with. I have a confidence course. I have a variety of things. Everything's really quite low price. I always want things to be accessible. And then we'll be sharing more information about the in-person events, which I'm really excited about pretty soon. So just, follow me and you'll see it.
Love it. And is it only Instagram, or do you exist anywhere else in the socials?
Just Instagram for the most part. Yeah.
Awesome. Matt, always good to chat with you and see you. Thank you guys for this time today. And that's a wrap on Only Founders. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you later.